Hello, my name is Rachel and I'm here today to do a review of Thomas Hardy's Far from the Madding Crowd. So this is a book that I read for Victober this year. It is one of the only books that I finished because I didn't actually read that many and it took me most of the month to read, but I did thoroughly enjoy this. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars because it was just fantastic. And yeah, I just wanted to review it today. So, in terms of Thomas Hardy books that I have read in the past, I have read Tess the D'Urbervilles, and I remember really enjoying Tess the D'Urbervilles when I read it and thinking it was fantastic. But now that I look back, I think it's more enjoyable for the themes that it covers than it is like for the actual enjoyment of it. So I enjoy like the substance of it and looking at sexuality and gender and all of these things, but when it comes to actually enjoying it, not as much. So yeah, so I think if I was to go back, I'd probably give it 4 out of 5 stars, but I'd have to reread it. But this one, definitely 5 out of 5 stars. This covers similar things to Tess the D'Urbervilles in my opinion, but does them in a much more enjoyable way that like keeps the story going. So I definitely prefer this one. Also prefer the cover, like these little bees are so cute. So Far from the Madding Crowd is about Bathsheba Everdeen. She inherits a farm from her uncle and goes over and starts running the farm, much to the disapproval of the men of the farm and the village. And she has 3 suitors, and this basically follows her running the farm and their suitors and their interest in her, and yeah, her like trials and tribulations of her life. One thing that I really love about Thomas Hardy is that there's like an elegance with his writing that is just unparalleled. Like I haven't found another writer who writes as beautifully as Thomas Hardy does. So an example is just one of the most beautiful, I'm not going to read the whole paragraph, but the whole paragraph is one of the most beautiful things I've ever come across in any writing. But it says, "The poetry of motion is a phrase much in use, and to enjoy the epic form of that gratification it is necessary to stand on a hill at a small hour of the night, and first enlarging the consciousness with a sense of difference from the mass of civilized mankind, who are horizontal and disregardful of all such proceedings at this time, long and quietly watch your stately progress through the stars." And I just like, there's just so many bits. Like I tabbed so much in here, and some of it was to do with like feminism or like sexuality or things I found interesting, but most of it was to do with writing because he just has such a fantastic writing style that I absolutely love. So this was just super enjoyable, and I loved it for that. Another thing that I thoroughly enjoyed about this was Bathsheba Everdeen. She is our protagonist in this book, and she is absolutely fantastic. Oh my god. So she makes so many mistakes in this book, but it means that she's real, which I don't think you get with a lot of characters in books nowadays. If they make mistakes, they're kind of forgiven or like not their fault or something, and whereas Bathsheba's making mistakes that are her fault that people would make in real life, which just made her so much more realistic. Bathsheba is such a strong female feminist character to look up to. There's so many quotes from her in this that are just fantastic. One being, "I hate to be thought men's property in that way." Another thing she says, which is just fantastic, is, "I shall be up before you are awake, I shall be afield before you are up, and I shall have breakfasted before you are afield. In short, I shall astonish you all." And this is in response to telling the men that she is going to run the farm and saying, "Yeah, you might be men, yeah, you might think you're better than me, but I'm going to do better than you. I'm going to be up earlier, I'm going to be working harder." Like, yeah, she's super cool. And with that, there's like an inversion of gender of all of the characters in the novel. And one of the ones I really enjoyed was the men who work on the farm. Not really her suitors. It doesn't happen as much with the suitors, but it happens with just the men who work on the farm, where like there's obviously the stereotypes of women like gossiping and bitching and all like old wives' tales and all these things of like women having these little collection of people who just like gossip about everyone. Whereas in this, the men did that. The men were always gossiping all the time, always talking about Bathsheba behind her back, and it was just this like complete inversion of the female being the strong, in charge, boss, amazing, and the men being just gossipy, bitchy. It was just, I really, really enjoyed that. And then that's pretty much it for non-spoilers, because I want to talk about some spoilers, but you should definitely pick this up, especially if you are interested in Victorian literature, or if you enjoyed Test the Devils. Well, if you enjoyed it, pick this up anyway. But if you enjoyed it but weren't like overly fond, I would definitely go for this one next, because this I think was a lot better. So yeah, I'm going to talk about spoilers now. So one thing I really enjoyed in this was the character of Fanny, and she was very reminiscent of Tess in Tess the Devils, but I just found her so perfect in the way that Hardy has his women sum up completely what a Victorian woman should be: being innocent, being respectable, and all that sort of stuff, and then have them be the opposite of what a Victorian woman should be. You know, she has sex out of wedlock, she has a baby, which is just so not acceptable in those times. And then Hardy still respects her and still has her painted very innocently when she comes back. We feel very sorry for her after she dies. She's a very, very sympathetic character, and to have such a sympathetic character who is a fallen woman in the Victorian era is just so fantastic. Like he's like a little revolutionary, Thomas Hardy. I love it. And then I wanted to talk about her suitors a little bit. Troy, I actually enjoyed at the start. When she first met him, I enjoyed the like flirtation between them, that they were like a bit sarcastic, stuff like that. Like, I find sarcastic people very attractive. So I quite liked that. But then when she met him and he cut some of her hair off, I just completely went off him. I thought that bit was so well written, how when he cut his hair, he like took a part of her and made her like an object that he kept and that he owned, and he made this his possession, and he said he was going to keep it and put it in a locket, and it's kind of what he wanted to do with Bathsheba, and like have her as an object that he owned. So I thought it was a really fantastic way of writing this sort of scene, basically. And then one of her other suitors, Baldwood, I hated the whole time. Did not get on with him at all. Every time he proposed marriage, every time he spoke to Bathsheba, he spoke about ownership in some way, shape or form, which just really, really bugged me. One of the times that he's talking to her, he says, "I'll punish him, by my soul, that will I. I'll meet him, soldier or no, and I'll horsewhip the untimely stripling for this reckless theft of my property," as if Bathsheba was his to own, even though she hadn't even said she'd marry him. It also really, really, it annoyed me so much when he was talking to Gabriel before the Christmas party, and he was saying, "I'll give you my land. I know that, you were a suitor for Bathsheba, and, I've won her now, so, you can have my farm as, a little bit of a prize." He was clearly just trying to, like, buy his silence. Oh my god, that angered me so much. And then after that, when he's talking to her and he makes her cry on the stairs, that was so uncomfortable to read. It was just, it was so disgusting. And like he says to her, "Promise yourself to me, I deserve it." Like, what? That's not a proposal of marriage. And one thing that rang really true with me is that in the writing, Thomas Hardy says that she is beaten into non-resistance, and it just reminded me of, I read Girl Up a few weeks ago, and it's by Laura Bates, and she says, like, why do people settle for consent? Why do they not want enthusiasm? Or why is it, just get their consent and then you can, do whatever? Why do you not want someone's overwhelming enthusiasm to be with you? And I thought it was similar with this engagement. Like, why did he want to be engaged to someone who wasn't enthusiastic about being engaged to him? I just found it really, really strange. And then Gabriel, I enjoyed I just really enjoyed the character of Gabriel throughout this. I loved the way that he respected her. I loved the way that she said no to him and then he just didn't ask her again. He was like, okay, that's your decision, that's fine. I just thought that was absolutely fantastic. And he was just so sweet and he was always defending her. Yeah, I really, really liked Gabriel. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is just how funny this book is. It's so hilarious. Like, there's just so many points, especially there's this character called Joseph and he gets really, really drunk and Gabriel goes to find him and starts reprimanding him for being drunk. And he basically is like, oh, it's not my fault. I've been afflicted with a multiplying eye. And I just, oh my god, it was just so funny. Like, yeah, this book is just so well written. It's so beautiful, it's hilarious. It's one of my favourite Victorian books I've ever read, and probably one of my favourite classics I've read actually. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say really. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!